On from the last video, when I talk about, Nepal Royal Massacre 2001, confirmed to be international intelligence operation outsourced to Israeli Mossad Israeli intelligence agency Mossad, and later on Israel Telecom, apparently Israel Telecom, Israel boy coming to shoot me at my home. So that in itself confirms that indeed it was International Intelligence Operation Nepal Royal Massacre 2001, outsourced to Israeli intelligence agency Mossad, hence the need for Israel boy to daring to come to shoot me at my home. I mean, obviously, uh, Israel and Israelis, since establishing their state, have come a long way to be able to, you know, be as daring as that. So, but I've not talked about it in the Twitter. I mean, never written about it. I mean, I never actually talked about it anywhere. I mean, I never had platform anywhere, and I never expressed it anywhere. But I mean, aside from as I talk about 2000, May 2001, May 1, 2015, since when um, I write in Twitter, I'm an aptly believers of highest and final revelation known to mankind, thus only humans. Uh, them chasing, but uh, Israelis, Jews have been on my tail since ever. I mean, first time I faced, I mean, literally an Israeli boy having come to shoot me at my home, 2009. But later on, I mean, they have certain Jewish centers established in Kathmandu. I don't know what's that cloth that they put on their um, on the neck, and it goes all the way down below below their hips, and then the kippah, the cap wearing, the skull cap wearing Jews had taken my picture image in Kathmandu. A Jew boy had come to sit directly in front of me in a restaurant, and I mean, to gaze, I had struck conversation. It was somewhere, sometimes in 2013 or 14, I think, and then I struck conversation with him. He told me there's a Jewish center and for Jews traveling through Nepal. And then later on, I was in another store, and then he passed by recording me with phone held up, just like that. I mean, you know, uh, as again, uh, long-suffering Jews have come a long way. I mean, especially Israel and Israelis, to be able to now enact suffering on distant, remote people as innocent as me. So, in the last video, I also talked about this Israeli boy coming to shoot me at my home in 2009. Uh, he'd carried a green box. So what I had to do is I had to, I mean, gaze. I mean, I wanted to gaze how how it would come out. I mean, I can already see what happened in the Blythswood Street in Glasgow on last Monday. So, I mean, I think, I mean, the way I was followed. So, um, but I mean, everything I've done over the last 18 years, I mean, not 18, I started writing about it in earnest. I mean, first writing my story, my abuses in Australia in 2015 onwards, and then later on, slowly, I mean, only last December, about 2021 December, I started writing about rape capture, state capture, and then carried on last year, and then only started, I mean, starting uh, in the spring of 2022 that I talked about American ambassador Peter William Bode coming to rape the girl Akriti Dagar all day long in my flat in Kathmandu, and then slowly, I mean, linking that up with Royal Massacre later, only in December 2022. So it's been a drip, drip, drip. I mean, obviously, I had to do it in a step. I mean, my fight strategically. So actually, the Israeli boy would come to shoot me had a base handkerchief. I mean, I think tied it in his right hand, and the small handgun. I mean, obviously very, I mean, good enough to do the job, lethal enough. Was tied underneath it. I mean, inside of it. I mean, it's just like a little bag kind of thing. It had created an impression of bag, but I mean, I deliberately said green box on to see how the reaction, and then what would be. I mean, I wanted to gaze it first. I mean, I didn't write it right away. I mean, just like what I've done in Twitter, and not write everything right away. I mean, step by step, uh, layer upon layer, just bringing it out. So later on, when he was pointing it literally to my chest, left side of chest, pressing it actually, the muzzle was pressed right uh, to my left chest. I was turned, so I mean, I was perpendicular to him. He was talking about having the need to have the trees cut, and I was asking him about his card, and then I saw it was pressed, and then it was just that. I mean, the base handkerchief like cloth, and then something jutting out of it, pressed inside, pressed to my chest. I mean, hard metal, obviously. And when I looked at him in very intense like this, he ran away. So after that, I talk about. mm, Uh, I mean, I ended the video right then, I mean, reconfirming that again, Royal Massacre 2001, Nepal Royal Massacre 2001 was international intelligence operation outsourced to Israeli intelligence agency Mossad, and then Israeli boy coming to shoot me at my home reconfirmed it, just because I had talked about what everybody had said, and this guy Devraj Dar wanted revenge for me declining his daughter. That's it. And also this George Varugis, and that's, I mean, very typical of a Kuli syndrome, you know, uh, with a Christian name, George Varugis. I mean, he had to serve his master. I mean, nobody had bothered me. I'd sent it to tons of people. Nothing had happened, but he had to keep up at it, that report. I mean, just that it was inconceivable and improbable that a heavily drunk crown prince depender could have carried out the massacre. That's it. That's the gist of it. But I had to be made a victim. So, and victimized for the last 2 decades. So now and then later on, obviously with this rape capture, state capture, it was, I mean, the way it was done very viciously, very ruthlessly, was to finish me. I mean, wreck me with no chance of coming up ever again. I mean, with their idea is uh, their worldview. This field slave driver Devraj Dal, Friedrich for the Stiftung, German think tank, sister organization of German Social Democratic Party, being born and raised in that part of the world, is I'd be ashamed to ever bring it out. Would I ever be? I mean, my whole life has been about bringing out the truth, starting with the truth of my birth, why I was brought to this world to be tortured this ruthlessly. I mean, obviously they didn't understand me. So it was their folly. So and linking that up with the American ambassador Peter William Body coming to rape the tiny little girl Akriti Dagar all day long, bloodbath rape in my flat. After that, and later on, starting in spring 2015, Americans uh, seeking to murder me straight up outside American embassy, starting off with actually trying to run me over by American diplomatic corps vehicle right outside Nepal president's palace. So uh, I mean, again, I mean, I had to bring it out in step layer upon layer, drip, drip. So I have written there. That was the last time American uh, sought to murder me directly. But then later on, this George Varugis, upon getting scared that when I said I would be safe in Australia, yeah, yeah, just before going to Australia, he had a Nepal little boy try to shoot me on the terrace of the apartment building that I was living in, block, flat, apartment tower that I was living in, right in front of Nepal Prime Minister's residence. Uh, so I've written in the Twitter, you know, trying to cross me by, trying to have me crossed by a passenger vehicle, passenger bus, public public transport bus, right outside of American Embassy. And that was the last time Americans tried to murder me, and then I started using motorbike. Never walked that path, but I did have to. I mean, again, I would use motorbike for some time, but then I would just, let it go. And I mean, I have nothing to lose anyway. So I walked one day, sometimes after that. So what had happened was now it was again outsourced to Israelis. So when I was nearing this, uh, just before reaching the intersection of this Lajin Part Road uh, and uh, and the road coming uh, just north of Nepal's Royal Palace, and another road coming out from the Indian and British Embassy. Just north of that, some distance north of the hotel called Sankar Hotel, an infamous hotel, actually, because the owner is a well-known rapist. Raped tiny little teenage girls with then royal princes, this guy Ganendra and Dhirendra and others, and then murdered them in Pokhara. So just before that, there's a small alleyway going east, and inside that alleyway to the south is Israeli embassy. So just when I was nearing that alleyway, just atop the, I mean, it was, I mean, I think there's a tiny little, I mean, the Hindus find gods everywhere. So there was a temple, I think, miniature temple, uh, like structure, I think, and it was a raised platform. So when I was just approaching that alleyway, I was walking on the this Maharajganj Road, coming down from the American Embassy. So the alleyway to Israeli Embassy, as I was approaching on up on the platform, was obviously a Israeli Jew person just looking at me viciously, and he started moving his right hand towards his hip. I think he was wearing a pinkish shirt. I still remember. I mean, I might have forgotten, but I believe it was pinkish shirt. I mean, I can't be sure about it. But anyway, uh, it was an Israeli man, and then and the another was also. I mean, it looked. I mean, racially mixed. I mean, Israeli Jews are racially mixed. I mean, and, having lived everywhere, going back now gone back to Israel uh, with a older um, what they call Mustarabi, the Mizrahi, the Arabized Jews coming to Israel, and then the European going there. So it looked like mixed race. So he was moving. So I went straight to the middle of the road. I didn't care. I had to do that. I mean, yeah. I mean, so and then what a pathetic status of that state, non-state of Nepal, as I say. There was a police van parked on the western side, uh, facing north on Maharajganj Road, because Nepal is left-hand drive. Little distance further down, south from that. So they had already prepared. If I ran, there would be police to get me. So I went to the middle of the road. There were other vehicles coming So I guess it would not look good to shoot somebody in the middle of the street. Uh, I mean, obviously he didn't shoot. That's why I'm talking now. So, but I mean, what a illustrative of the world we live in. This state founded out of uh, the long story of abuses and suffering, and indeed Holocaust of Jews, Israel has become so powerful now that me on my own country, I had to go down to the road, just like that scene from the movie The Pianist, about acted by Adrian Brody. Uh, his father is scolded by the Nazi soldier to walk on the street, not on the pavement. So I had to go down to the road in my own country. I've never forgotten that. So later on, another day, I think I mean they always have to try second time because I mean they would be scared. One time miss means I know everything now. So next the compound right next to that alleyway facing the very road and by the little door there was a man standing and I think it was Israeli Jew as well because I mean he looked Israel, as I said Israeli Jews could be looking like anybody mixed race now so but pale skin dark hair right by a small door and a small step of stairs going down because the compound was little the elevation was a little below the main road. So he was standing there. I mean, I had already crossed the intersection of little alleyway going to Israel embassy and the road. So I had stepped on. Well, I mean, in that kind of situation, my as I've written in Twitter, my best move is no move at all. So I straight up walked right in front of me without looking at him, just you know, full confidence. But but my eyes had already seen him, and on my side, I had made sure that that person knew that I would be aware of his move. He didn't move. So when I was coming back, I was looking at whether he would be still there. He was not there. So that was again two times. I mean three times now. The Israelis obviously tried to shoot me in my own country, including making me walk. I mean descend down from the pavement on and walk on the middle of the road. Just uh, what had happened to Jews in the ghetto of Warsaw, and as portrayed in the movie The Pianist with Adrian um, Brody. So, so again, and after that, I mean, I have incidences of a few. Uh, I mean, I can talk about it, but I mean, I'll put it in detail in later another video. I went to the University of New South Wales in Sydney, and again, I was going up stairs of this Center for Cities Studies, and there it came a student, apparently a student of the center, and he had that kippa and then that blonde, blue-eyed European guy, but wearing kippa, the skull cap, and then the cloth they wear that goes all the way down below the hip, put on the knee, on the neck, like like I mean, I don't know what's the piece of cloth, what's the significance of that. I mean, I'm not uh, into this fairy tale moronism, as I call it. I mean, I don't care what people think about it. So, so he had come. I mean, he had already known that I was going there. He had come facing me right above where stairs landing, and taken my pick, holding phone with both hands like that, and then turned back. And when I asked him in the name of the professor that I was going to meet, he said in very, uh, I mean, typical Australian accent, uh, he didn't know. I mean, he was visiting himself. I think he said, uh, I don't know where he is, but I mean, so again, just like believers of highest and final revelation known to mankind, thus only humans, as I talk about in the Twitter thread, their fealty to the global believer empire, global believer state extent, as I say, everywhere since this May 1, 2015, everywhere I've been, they've been organized to chase, come after me. So I guess the same story with the Israelis and the Jewish diaspora as well. Because why would an Israeli, Australian accent, perhaps student or a research student or a researcher at the center would be so interested on me otherwise? So, so that's what it is. So that's the reason this whole saga. I mean, you know, absolutely, this should be a case study in how to choose an innocent person. Absolutely, in both cases. In all cases. Starting off with me for my supposed uncle, who is himself a criminal, you know, brother of a woman who gave birth to me, who had violated me when I was growing up. Caste violation, humiliated me. I'll talk about it later in another video. Him making me write what I thought about what happened in Royal Massacre. As a boy of mid 20s, I had just written my impression. That's it. Everybody were talking about it. What different it made? Because I had to be victimized. That's it. I know. They, I mean, the there's a parable. There's a saying in Nepal: when a thief is caught hidden inside a house, and then and persons looking for call out thief, say, they would not have identified the thief or found the thief yet, but they would pretend that they would have found the thief and then yell, "Let's cut the feet of the thief," and thief would himself would throw the feet down from the hiding in the ceiling or somewhere. In Nepal it sounds straightforward, very simple. चोरको खुट्टा काट भन्दा खुट्टा फाल्यो. That's what they say. चोरको खुट्टा काट भन्दा खुट्टा फाल्यो. Meaning, when you say, let's cut the feet of thief throws the feet down. So just like that, I had written what he told me to write. I had written what everybody talked about, improbable story. A crown prince already drunk and put to bed would not have been able to carry out such a scale of horrendous massacre. And that was that. Everybody had forgotten. Nothing had happened till these two motherfuckers, whores, chosen whores of their masters, George Varugis of Asia Foundation and Devraj Dal of Friedrich Stiftung, reignited it, and then their master, already sadist criminal. This empire is sadist criminal anyway. For this empire to be prosperous, this empire's prosperity, there has to be disparity everywhere. So somebody who is not afraid to say what he sees has to be vanquished. But that was not even the case in my case. I had just, expressed whatever everybody had talked about, and that was amplified. So de facto white supremacist racism came to the fore first, and then obviously, despite it being quite an oxymoron, people talk about people separate white supremacism and the Jewish, identity, Israeli, supremacy. That's what it is. As I have experienced now. And the Dianne Feinstein I've talked about in another video. Yelling at a human rights commissioner of an independent country, talking about a coup, a military coup. How does it matter to you? So de facto having already become white, but then for continuing to identify as Jewish. Just like believers of highest and final revelation known to mankind, thus only humans, have this invincible shield of a dyad, phobia, race phobia dyad of invincible shield, suffering and sensitivity. So I see the parallel now. So then, having been outsourced this, now they have to come after me as stridently. And obviously, I mean, how daring it could get than that? Going to a house of a person to shoot him straight, being Israeli suffering Jew everywhere, and that's the main story. So, I mean, obviously, Jews have come a long way from Holocaust to be able to enact Holocaust on other people, innocent, distant people, other people now they consider non-human. So in that sense, I guess Jews have become, uh, given the opportunity. I mean, they could be one with the Nazi. I mean, I was made to go down from the pavement to walk in the middle of the street. I could have been hit by the car coming from behind. I had no choice. So that's it. So I mean, as I also write about in Twitter, just like everybody's equal opportunity racist, everybody's equal opportunity evil. So if I mean Jews had as big of a country like Germany, and then that uh, control of a large country with a large minority, I guess there would be a possibility of what happened to Jews in Germany happening to non-Jews in that kind of situation. And I guess that's what the contemporary situation to a certain extent is as well. Although I put the caveat there, I have, I mean, I am totally apathetic about it because for me, this fairy tale story, as I put it, organized religion is fairy tale mormonism, is a non sequitur, if I may, regarding people's right and and then their uh, the right to fair free living, uh, unmolested anywhere. But I guess that has come to the fore in this issue as well. But I end it right there. I mean, I have no comment because I mean both sets of people have come after me for no reason at all. Despite, I mean, obviously they must have done their research. I'm most innocent. So what's the reason to come after me? Because they've already done something really. I mean, they've already done this. I mean, nasty thing. So they have to keep doing it. That's it. Otherwise, why? The same thing with the whole saga. I had kept it quiet. I'd gone to Australia to save the girl. Forget about everything. So that's what it is. White supremacism. And obviously, I mean, supremacism for Israeli Jews as well. I mean, I mean, as we can see, every U.S. president just before presidential election to go beeline to Israel, and then the candidate's most important selling point is strong on Israel. So the stamp of approval for a U.S. presidential candidate is the foremost stamp of approval is from Israel. And then also, it's a supremacism of, as I've talked about much in Twitter thread, believers of highest and final revelation known to mankind, that's only humans. So that's what it is. An absolutely innocent person, as innocent as this newly born baby, as I write about. I mean, I was not an investigative journalist. I was not going to write a book about it. I had not even written an article about it. I had not done anything. Just written email impression. That's it. And then, I mean, the part of this whole saga, after I came across this, I mean, they themselves exposed to me what they are. I mean, innocently having coffee in this Oxford Cafe, West Java and Company, uh, on the corner of George Street and New Hall Inn Street in Oxford on May 1, 2015. They were organizing their own believing, as I put it, sending off briefing for this young lad to fight the war. So I not even listened to it. I mean, I was not even conscious about it, but that thing got that started, and then obviously as part of this whole bait the believer, of course, I mean intelligence underneath, uh, you know, I mean as I write in Twitter, cast two birds with single stone kind of thing. Um, so this whole saga started. So that's what it is, and I mean they themselves confirm, and it's like as I write about also in Twitter, my own life story, the criminals that I grew up with, that I was born to, I mean my ex non-family criminals, they were themselves itching for my memory to come to the fore. What they had done to me before, just mauling me over and over again. So same thing here. They themselves reconfirmed again. So to end this, Nepal Royal Massacre 2001 was an international intelligence operation to expand the war. I mean, obviously to make ingress, to have more entrenched presence in the country. Arms deal. I mean, obviously Nepal army acquired large number of Israeli arms too. After after this new guy Gyanendra, War of Nepal, became king, and the Belgian government fell. I mean, it was a lot of money. So there was an international intelligence operation to wipe out the reigning king's family because he was opposed to expanding the war, as obvious, and it was outsourced to Israeli intelligence agency Mossad. That's it.